Good evening, people. Hope you all are doing good. And I want to congratulate you for coming up all through this way in the Accenture's recruitment process. And the next round, that's the fourth round for the Accenture's recruitment process, is your HR interview. So people do have a lot of questions about how this interview is actually going to look like and what are all the questions that can I answer and what are all the questions that I can expect to be asked in this particular round. So I'm going to take you through all of this, and I'm also going to append two more videos wherein I'll be taking you through the actual Accenture experience, which will help you to gain more confidence towards your next HR interview round in Accenture. So I suggest you to watch the next two videos as well. So getting into this, so how the interview is going to look, like how many panel members are going to be there, and what are the questions that I can expect being asked. So first and foremost, I'm going to explain to you how the experience is going to look like. How is it going to start like? So in this interview, you're going to face a panel of two who will be dealing with the interview for the next 20 to 30 minutes. That's the approximate time frame that is mentioned. So in this 20 to 30 minutes, what are all the questions they will going to ask me? Or what are all the ways in which I would be able to impress them in order to get this job? So first and foremost, if you possess good communication skills and if you have a quick capacity to give rebuttal to the questions asked and a good objection handling, which is very essential, and convincing skills. So if you've got all this, you're going to crack this interview with ease. So they are going to introduce themselves, which is going to be at the start, and they're going to make you feel a bit comfortable for the initial half minute to say. So once that is done, they're going to ask you gently, starting with, to tell something about yourself, which is a common question in all the interviews which you can expect. So when they're going to ask you about, tell something about yourself, do not go deep into which place you're from, what your parents are doing, if you've got any siblings, if so, what they are up to. No, they're not interested in all of these things. I suggest you to tell more about yourself, your accomplishments, your strengths, your success. What are the achievements that you have made in your career so far? So I suggest you to go ahead with all of these things rather than explaining or getting into boring stuff like where you did your schooling, where you did your college, blah, blah, blah. No. I also posted a video in this regard, so do watch if in case you're a person who don't know how to frame a good self-introduction. Never ever give your oral resume when they ask you this question, because this is the first impression that you're going to make about yourself. Then the second most important thing is your objection handling, as I told you. So when there is an objection being raised, make sure you face it with clarity in your words. If you don't have clarity in your words, that's for sure going to show that you're not confident enough in answering. You're just coming up with some rebuttal just for the sake of answering it. So please don't do that. And the third one is make sure you be thorough with the project that you have done, because they are going to question you about your project. So make sure you know all the positives or the pros and cons of your project. Make sure what was the primitive level of it, what are the advancements that you can make in your project, why you have restricted your project's scope only up to this particular level, if not, why not beyond that. So make sure you have answers for all these questions. I suggest you to talk with your friends or your project mates. Have a good clarity, know all the ins and outs of your project. Or addition to which, I recommend you to know the answers for the questions like, if in case you have done a project that's not related to the computer science domain, I suggest you to know the answers for the next couple of questions that I recommend you very much. So questions like, why haven't you not used any programming language in yours? If you have used, what are those? Why did you see the need to use this? Or why didn't you see the need to use these programs in your projects? Or from whom, if so, if you got the idea to do this? Or from whom did you seek the help to do all this coding part in your project? And a couple of questions are expected from this segment. Like why this and why not that, of that sort. So make sure you know the good answers for all of these questions, especially the non-technical departments. Non-technical matlab, I mean the civil, mechanical, biomedical like that. Okay. So these are the key things that you have to concentrate a lot. And last but not least, they tend to ask you a question. Are there any questions for us? And moreover, if at all they're going to ask you any questions or if they come up with any objections in the technical part when you are explaining your project, don't think that they are into your technical stuff. It's just to pull your legs down. Make sure you sound confident and be clear in whatever you deliver across the table. And last, you're gonna face a question like, are there any questions for us? So in that case, make sure you give them good questions. Don't just ask for the sake of asking them. No, please don't do it. Don't ask them like when my results are gonna be out. No, you already know it in this case. So don't ask or come up with questions of that sort, especially which does not make any sense. Come up with some good questions in the end, which will help them to see you as a potential employee if they're gonna hire you. So that's it from my side. I wish you all the best and I suggest you to watch the next 2 sample HR interview videos of Accenture's. And I also brought down some links for you to answer the questions like to introduce yourself or to ask some potential questions at the end of the interview. So if you need a reference, you have it down there. All the best.